Dude, look at my Mufasa. Nice, dude.
Yeah, I think we're live, Pony Boy. Hey, good morning, folks, and happy Friday. This is your man Mike Doc Ranigan with our counselor Coop Smith, and we're going to take a little deep dive look this morning into authenticity of yourself. We're going to be able to better understand our character, how our character applies in business, our morals, our values, our ethics, how faith plays a role in all of that. And so just stand by. We're going to be dropping bombs for you guys and getting you guys some really good knowledge on the trials and tribulations that I've faced that's helped me to become the man I am today. Coop's going to dive into some of his past and let us know what he's done to get his life where he's at today and the things that just kind of make us better people. So, Coop, tell me how you doing this Friday morning, brother?
Man, so I've had some 7-Eleven coffee, hazelnut, so it's good to go. And I put some sugar in there, processed sugar, which I don't normally eat, but it's to kickstart me. So,
yeah,
it's to fire me up.
Well,
but this is a passionate topic for me, being authentic, and so I'm pretty excited about it, and I'm just wanting to dive into it and just really talk about.
Well, what is authenticity? What do we mean when we say, are you authentic? I mean, are you, help me understand a little bit better. Like when I say, man, you're not authentic. You sound like you're just making shit up. What are you talking about? Like, help me understand and the audience understand what we're really talking about on being authentic.
Well, in using some illustrations as well, it kind of helps. It puts a picture in our mind about things and ideas. And so being authentic as a person is really being genuine. You have products that are sold out there, and it'll say authentic, authentic Mexican food. I love that stuff,
Boom, sold.
Not Tex-Mex. I know this is Texas, but hey, authentic Mexican food is like the real deal. But kind of putting an idea into our minds about authenticity and genuine, it's not fake, it's not mixed in with anything else. There was a time when I learned some stuff about milk, the milk process, the plant. And you have the whole milk, right? You have the 2%, you got the skim. And before I thought, wow, I guess they just put more water in it and dilute it, right?
I just thought it was skinny cows.
Chocolate cows and everything else.
That's not true.
No, it isn't. But I learned when I was doing a little side gig as a quality assurance person there at Oak Farms in Dallas, that it has nothing to do with that. If you add anything into raw milk, and even after it's processed, it's adulterated, it's been mixed in, and you can't have that. It's not legit. And so they couldn't sell it as milk. And so what they do is really basically it's fine tuning and spreading out how much fat content's in it that makes it. Skim milk, shoot, I don't think there's any fat in there. So I like whole milk. That's just one example of something to be whole, complete. And so being genuine and authentic is, are you true to yourself? And where does that come from? We're raised in homes. Mom and dad teach us stuff, and you have your little core family unit, and you really are raised with their belief systems and stuff like that. But sometimes you have, what are the different religion or just how they operate. And so for me, I was raised in a Christian home. And so I learned, church, Christianese language, things like that. And then I learned how to work through the system so I can get what I wanted out in life. And I became, a mix of stuff that I just added on. into me. And so I lost my place, my character.
No, I can definitely agree with that, with what you're saying. I was raised Catholic, and basically I was just kind of going through these motions because my mom and dad said this is the right way to go.
Right.
Right. When I finally was like, you know what, this isn't for me, right? Because I didn't feel some of the things that were being taught were authentic, right?
Yeah.
I felt like they were kind of circumventing the truth to be able to get what the church wanted, right? So I left a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
And so when I moved out, I put all that behind me. You know what I mean? I was just going to do what Mike wants to do, join the service and all that other jazz. And I didn't really find a new understanding of God, for lack of a better term, until I was in a foxhole in Afghanistan. Right? Shit got real. I was like, you know what? I better have somebody to rely on. If something goes down and and God forbid, I don't make it out of this country, I better have a relationship with somebody bigger than myself so I can either go to heaven, right? Because everybody knows it's easier for people to believe in hell than it is to believe in heaven for some reason,
Yeah.
which I don't really fully understand, but it's not my place to understand. But once I got back out and I got back to safety, my relationship with God went back down the hill, right? Because I no longer needed it. Right. I was no longer in a position in life that I was struggling, that the shit factor wasn't as real any longer.
Yeah.
Everything was smooth and easy going. So I was like, well, cool. I don't need that guy anymore. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Right. And then it wasn't until, I don't know, 15 years later that I hit another rock bottom where I was in a place where I was like of despair. I was mentally bankrupt, financially bankrupt, spiritually bankrupt, and I had no way out. And I said, man, if I die today, I know exactly where I'm going. I better get my life right one more time. Yeah. And that's where the authentic path began to take place for me. Right. I had to begin to understand what were some of my character defects, right? Because in order, again, this is only my opinion, in order for somebody to become authentic, they need to be able to understand where they're not being authentic at.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of those character defects for me were lying, were cheating, were manipulating people, were manipulating myself, being dishonest with myself. So there was this line of these characteristics that I was implementing into my life that weren't playing any bearing on me becoming a better person. And so once I began to acknowledge that, I began to chip away at the barriers that I put up so that I wouldn't get hurt anymore.
Yeah. That's a great point, because you get hurt and you put the walls up and you protect yourself. And you're vulnerable. You being in a foxhole, the shit's real. And you're like, if God, I need you, Yeah. And how often do we forget? And I've forgotten where if it's not important to me, I'll push things to the side and I'll go back to whatever feels good at the moment to get through in life. That's some good stuff. And there's a lot of truth in that. Being authentic and knowing what your defects are. But how do we know our defects what do we base it off of? What do we know that's true? And for me, I know Jesus tells me in his word, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so I'm able to sit there and go, hey, I need something that I know for sure is genuine and authentic and not messed up, not regurgitated through other people, but let me get to the source.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find out who is this? Who is this God that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and he did all this stuff. And so it's like, hey, I want to know who that person is, because he's not conditioned like we are conditioned. And
Right.
so I can relate with that. I had defects because I was raised in a Christian home, and I just learned how to lie
Yeah.
because of fear. Well, all right. The reality is, it's my first real big fear thing is where are we living in Illinois, and the neighbor boys, I think I was about 12, whatever, and their parents smoked, and so we snuck cigarettes out and we're hiding behind the house, and we're like smoking on it, and we're like, yeah, this is cool, because what, it was wrong, and we were trying to get away with it, and there was the excitement about it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's new, it's a different experience. And so then my dad rolls up in the driveway, and we're like, oh crap, and I'm like putting it out, running, doing all this stuff, and he calls me into the house. Hey, Coop, come on in the house. I'm like, oh no, because my dad used the belt. Nowadays, I don't think they do that, but
No.
well, I use the belt for my boys, but
What is that? Spare the rod, spoil the children, or
Yeah,
something? I'll tell you what.
yeah. So I was fearful of the response my parents would give me, and my dad asked me. He said, "Coop, did I see you smoking out there on the other side?" And he was calm. He didn't do anything wrong in that. He just brought the question up.
Yeah, but it's scary, right?
Yeah, dude, I was scared. My dad was big,
Yeah, no,
and I was little.
whenever you get approached by a parent and they're in that calm, cool, collective manner, right? And he's like, hey, did you do this? And you're like, damn, I don't know if he's mad. I don't know if he's happy. I don't know if you know what I mean? I don't know what's coming.
Where's this going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
And I lied and denied. I'm like, no, not at all. No.
Me?
And he goes, well, you know what? I just want to let you know that this stuff, it not only stinks, but it's not good for you.
Yeah.
And that's all he said. He didn't sit there and step on me and say, hey, you're going to tell me the truth, this and that. And I was surprised by it. I learned by it because the way he did it, the way he approached me was perfect. He should have been a counselor. But I was fearful, and I allowed that fear of the unknown and possible consequences to dictate how I was going to respond. And so I wasn't authentic. I wasn't genuine. I wasn't true. And I learned that behavior, and I brought it into my teens, into my adulthood, into my marriage.
You bring up a valid point right there. So what I heard him say was he created a habit, a poor habit.
Yes.
Of if I lie and I don't get called out on my bullshit, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If there's no consequences for the poor actions that we do, then subconsciously we believe that it's okay. And sometimes that's bad. Not sometimes, that is just bad, because what'll happen as a business owner, you're still carrying around all these poor habits.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, one day I want to be a business owner. But the problem is that you have all these poor habits on your personal life that carries into your business as a business owner. And if you don't think that those habits are going to overflow into your company, you're wrong. You're going to do whatever it takes and tell your client whatever they want to hear to be able to get what you want. You're going to be able to circumvent the truth to be able to get what you want from your client. And it's going to come out in the wash. Yeah. And you're going to end up getting caught. And then now your brand is tarnished.
Yeah.
Now you're going to be backstepping, going, oh, well, I didn't mean it that way. Oh, don't fire me, this, that, and the other. And so what we want to really hone in on today is, if we do have these poor habits, how do we get back on track to be able to recognize what we're doing wrong? Because it's hard when we have created such bad habits for so many years, our subconscious mind continues to go down that path.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out a way to break that pathway in our brains, and retrain it. And that's for lack of a better term. We need to retrain our pathways in our brain housing group and be able for it. If we get into a rough spot, we got the fork in the road, right? Do we go back to our old ways and lie, cheat, borrow, steal to get what we want? Or do we go to the other way, which is harder, which is the road less traveled, right?
Yeah.
Where we're just upfront and we're a man about it. And we say, you know what, client, I was wrong. I made a mistake. I didn't know. What can I do to fix the problem? Yes. Is it uncomfortable? Absolutely. Is it scary because you don't know how they're going to react, like your dad?
Yeah.
You had no idea how he was going to act. And when he reacted in a totally opposite manner than you perceived that was going to happen, you were caught off guard.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that's what happens when we begin to tell the truth.
Yeah. And I felt guilty
Sure you
later
did.
on
Sure you
because
did.
he didn't do anything wrong and I told a lie.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are like, that's if recognizing those habits. And so what is that? Do I speak truth? You know, am I a man of my word or a person of my word? Is there any substance or value to that? Or do you have such a reputation that people just can't trust you? You know, you're not going to put your trust in someone who you know has compromised.
Right.
You're not going there, whether it's business or relationships or anything like that. And so, but the reality is we're all human. But if we don't change, as you were saying, that pathway, that easy out to that we're so used to, and we just say, you know what, I need to be authentic, and this is where I'm going to start. I want to be authentic by I'm not going to lie anymore, no matter how hard it is or how ugly it is. I need to speak the truth. But when you do that, knowing that you're going to be an honest, truthful man or person, you're going to set yourself up so you're not put in those positions to where it's challenging you again. And you're like, well, I'm just going to compromise this one time, because then you're really not being that person in the mirror that you look at and go, wow, you know what? I'm happy with what I'm becoming.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm growing.
Yeah. I can totally relate, because it's whenever you begin to start that pathway to doing the right thing. I love to use the analogy, the devil's outside doing push-ups.
Yeah.
Right. So I tried to, I began to look deep inside of who I was about 5 or 6 years ago. And I said, I'm just going to do these baby steps. We all heard of the analogy. How do you eat an elephant? Right. And it's freaking doggone one bite at a time. How do you walk a mile? 1 inch. Rome wasn't built in a day. Everybody knows all these cliche terms, but they're so valid and they're so real that they're cliche for a reason, right? Because they're truth.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that first step is the hardest step to become the person that you want to become. And I like to tell people, just start with something simple.
Yeah.
Right? Because we like to nuke shit. Right? We love to overcomplicate it, overanalyze, overthink it. And when in all reality, it's really quite simple. Right?
It is.
It's really quite simple.
Yeah.
So when we talk about this and you get up in the morning and you're brushing your teeth and you're getting ready and you look at yourself in the mirror, are you satisfied with that person that you're looking at, that's looking back at you? Do you sit there and look at yourself for a few moments and go, is there anything I can do better today that I didn't do yesterday?
Yeah.
Right? Am I going to look a little bit more sharp? Am I going to do something a little bit more different? Am I going to be just a tad bit more honest? Because it's hard to break away the cycle that you were so accustomed to from when you were 13 years old till the time you realized you needed to change. Yeah. Right? You're looking at years of bad habits, and you just don't go, you know what? I'm a brand new man. Hallelujah. Yeah. I'm saved. And this, that, and the other, right? Because that's 100% bullshit. It doesn't work that way, folks.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It takes time and consistency and repetitiveness to be able to create a new habit. People say to create a new habit, it takes 14 days. Well, no, to create a new habit takes a lifetime of honing in on that new skill set that you want.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same thing in business, right? You want to be successful. You want to go to the next level. You want to scale, but it doesn't happen overnight. And people, we're a gotta have it now society, right?
Yeah.
Hey, where's my damn Amazon package? Right? Hey, why isn't this construction on Interstate 30 fixed yet? I've been looking at this garbage for 2 doggone weeks.
And
you know,
just as you're saying that, you know how we put the expectations on other people. Hey, you better be honest with me, or I'm not doing business with you. Or you better not lie with me. Or these are the consequences you're facing because you lied to me. So it's easier for us to dish it out because we inside, we really know what's right and wrong. The stuff's not oblivious to it. So we know when somebody's not being truthful and authentic with us in business, in relationships, stuff like, or when our kids are lying, we know it. And you're able to see that. And so our judgment comes out, boom. But what about us? You know, Jesus was sitting there saying, and this is totally paraphrased, he was opening up a can of whoop on the Pharisees, the scholars of Israel. And he said, don't worry about the speck in your brother's eye, but get the plank out of your own eye, because you can't even see clear. And if I'm not authentic, it's easy to sit there and analyze and go, wow, that person got this, and whatever, and just lash out. But I'm not even seeing clear because my moral compass is based on my feelings, my emotions for that day or that moment, or what I want, my greed, my jealousy, all these things come into play. And so I get the teaching that Jesus is saying. And I love it because it brings me back to the truth. I need to be authentic. I need to be genuine because nobody likes fake people. And we bring it. And you know who sees it the closest? Our family.
Yeah.
Your wife, she knows every fault you have. You can't hide it. You know, she can read you. Ugh. She knows you. Look at it.
Yeah.
Mike, what you get?
You're 100% right. She knows when I'm happy, sad, and different. She knows when it's frustrated. And Coop's 1,000% right. You know, the people that you surround yourself with on a daily basis, they hone in on you, and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
You don't even know it. They know you better than you know yourself. Yeah. And that's because we don't ever reevaluate who we are. We don't ever take the time out to reflect on who we are that day. We don't take a moment in time to reevaluate what we did the day before. And we have to be able to do that. We have to be able to write down and talk to somebody and say, hey, this is what happened yesterday. What can I do better? Right? And oftentimes we just skim right over it and say, well, I made it through this day. I'm just going to go to bed and hope it doesn't work out. You know, hope I don't repeat the same shit tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the problem is you're going to repeat the same shit tomorrow because you didn't take any corrective actions the day before to be able to make those corrective actions, right? You didn't take the time out of your life to do some self-reflection.
Yeah.
And self-reflection is hard because you don't want to look at yourself and realize that you're a piece of shit. Right. Like you don't want to look at yourself and go, damn, man, you could have, you're a POS.
If somebody said, Doc, you're a piece of shit.
Right.
It's offensive. We could know where we're at and know and tell ourselves, man, I'm worthless. I lie all the time. I'm doing this and that. We know the truth. To hear it is hard.
Yeah, it's like getting punched right in the jaw, you know, and you get called out on it. Yeah. And then once you are called out on it, you're scrambling. You're in scramble mode. You're like, holy crap, man, the walls are caving in, the world's attacking me, and you become defensive. And then you become poor me mentality, right? Oh, well, you just don't understand, man. I got all this stuff going on, and I just had to say that so that, you know what I mean? Just to, you know, I had to make myself look good, so you had to look bad. Right. You know what I mean? Because we're always about self. Yeah. We are so selfish individuals.
Self-preservation is one of the key elements in it, because we put those walls in because we don't want to be hurt. We don't want to be vulnerable. And so we lock people out of that, and we can't even be honest with ourselves and genuine. And, you know, like when you go working out in the morning and you're pumping the iron, when you do that all the time, you got calluses. Your hands, doing roofing business and stuff like that, your hands are callous. Well, the same thing is that those habits in our life, we can become callous and lie and not even be honest and truthful in our life. And it's nothing because we don't feel it anymore.
Right.
If it comes close to home, then we're feeling it. And we're, hey, I don't like that. I don't like people sitting there seeing who I really am.
Mm-hmm.
That was the reality for me. When I was messing up, because I had bitterness and I had hate going on in me since 2001 for a particular family that wanted to take me out. I started off praying for them, but that quickly went away.
Yeah.
Because I'm in self-preservation mode, and I became so defensive. Even my brothers and sisters in law enforcement, everybody, I just kind of like I felt unsafe. So I'm judging this and that, and I even authored a book on it. And I actually look back at that book that I wrote, and I'm like, man, that person's hurting.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that I see pain in that. But the reality, what brought a change in me was about 3 years ago, when the mother of the person my partner and I ended up dropping reached out through a chaplain from La Habra, and he reached out to me. And when he did, I handed the phone to my wife because I didn't want to hear it. Because every time I hear something going on, I cycle down. I just get in that zone. I get in protection mode. I get angry. And it was a controlled anger. I didn't take it out on my wife.
But it was just a feeling you didn't like to feel.
I didn't want to feel. I didn't want to
feel that.
I did not want it, and it drove me nuts. And I remember my wife challenged me, and wives are good.
Yeah.
Because they know us so well, they're able to hit spots in us that nobody else can.
Yeah.
And she goes, hey, do you think you ever forgave that family? And she would say their names. And I'm like, and because I felt defensive, I'm like, wait, you don't think I forgave them?
Mm-hmm.
But that took me on a journey. It took me on a journey because that long road, I realized for 17 years, I had this thing in me.
This
baggage.
This weight around your ankle, this ball and chain.
Yeah.
That most of the time we don't even know is there.
I was oblivious to it.
Because we get so comfortable with carrying all of this resentment, all this animosity, all of this hate and discontent, that we get so comfortable with carrying it that we don't realize how heavy it really is. Yeah. And then once you faced it, once you were called out on it by your wife, you were like, holy crap, I maybe didn't do what I needed to do the first go round.
Yeah.
And it's okay, folks. This isn't here to call anybody out and tell you that you're a bad person or anything like that. All we're trying to suggest is become willing to reflect on your past and see if you have any old skeletons that you haven't addressed lately.
Yeah.
Even though we've shoved it so far down, or we locked it in the storage in China and we're hoping never it to come out, I promise you, those skeletons will come back out. They will rear their head some way, somehow, in some form. And I can attest to this because it's happened to me on more than one occasion, right?
Yeah.
Where I was just straight up hitting the jaw with some shit that I thought was gone and under the rug and nobody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just thought it was out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
Shoot. But it wasn't until I did that self-reflection. It wasn't until I became honest with who I was. And it wasn't until somebody called me out on my bullshit. So I didn't mean to interrupt your story, but
that was actually perfect because it really brings it around to I can want to do these things. I can want to be true. And everybody wants to be authentic. Everybody wants to be genuine. Everybody wants to be loving and kind because we want that in return. But how do you do that? Well, in reality is when you don't deal with some of the things in the past and acknowledge it and own up to it, or even go to a person that may have hurt you or you were angry and bitter about this and that, if you don't deal with that, you're still carrying the baggage around. And maybe that person isn't around anymore, but you got to give it you got to do something with it.
Yeah.
For me, it was, I'm just going to pray and I'm going to ask God to help me in that. And so being authentic means I'm not just deciding to change course for the future, but I'm also going to, I need to get rid of these bags. How do I get rid of these bags? And I know in the stuff that you've gone through and the stuff, I was doing the 12-step spiritual step program that was really beneficial. It really kind of helped it. But I needed some time to work through it, and it's okay. My wife didn't pressure me and say, "Hey, you need to hurry up and do this." That whole forgiveness and getting rid of that stuff is not like, okay, forgive and forget.
Mm-mm. It's a process for sure.
It's not easy because my thoughts weren't good at all, and so I had to deal with it. It's for me. It took about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For me to work but I was focused. I'm like, I'm dealing with this. I'm not carrying this anymore. But it was the first time I've had joy.
Yeah.
In my life for a long time. I felt so lifted and light. I didn't know what to do with myself.
Right.
Because I was like, wait a minute, I'm not carrying this anymore. What else can I do? And so then I have the energy, I have the focus, because I'm not going back in my mind. I'm not going back in my history and beat myself up or beating somebody else up in my mind. I'm not dealing with it. So I'm more free to be able to sit there and go, okay, now I'm focused. I know my purpose. I know my goals. And how can I be a good person in my business, in my family, in my relationship? But if I'm carrying the baggage, I'm not going to be really kind and loving towards my wife and my kids. This and that. It just spreads.
Well, so you remember back in the day on the cartoons, you'd have the devil pop up on one shoulder, and you have the Jesus, the God, the good guy on the other shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, as we live in a life of lies and turmoil and resentment and animosity, this little guy on the little devil here gets bigger and stronger and louder, right?
Yeah.
And this guy over here, the good guy, the yin, the yang, gets smaller and quieter. But the good news is that it never goes away, right? The good news is the guy over here, the good guy, never goes away. And whenever I began to this new spiritual journey that I went on, this new way of life, if you would, this guy over here began to lose. Yeah. Right. And he became to become a little bit more quiet. He became to become a little bit more smaller. And the guy over here became to become bigger and louder and guided me more. And I relied on it more. So just because I was in a rut and I was in a dark place, that didn't mean that I didn't have no way out. It just meant that I needed to become willing to look for a new way out.
Yeah.
Because the old way out was drinking, drugging, lying, stealing, cheating, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Right. Where the new way out was harder. Trust me, right. The new way out was difficult as fuck because I had to self-reflect. I had to get down to the brass tacks of things. That's why it took you 2 weeks, right? Because it wasn't simple.
Yeah.
It wasn't simple. And people think that it's just so easy to be able to get down and hone in on their like what makes us truly love. And I come from a family that it was loving, but I didn't feel loved, right? If that makes any sense. And so when I got older and I got married and I was always, man, I love you, Mike. I get it. My kids told me I didn't really know how to accept it because I was afraid of betrayal.
Right.
Right. And children are so authentic, right? Like you want to talk about authentic, talk to a 4-year-old. They'll straight up hit you in the jaw with some reality. You know what I mean? Tell you a quick story. My daughter, Brooklyn, 4 years old, gets a hold of my wife's phone and calls me yesterday. She's like, Dad. I'm like, what's up, bro? She's like, you need to come home. And I'm like, why? Is everything okay? She's like, I just miss you and love you. Like my fucking heart
Oh,
broke.
wow.
Right. And I was like, and I wanted to, right? I wanted to stop everything I was doing and head straight to the house and just, you know what I mean? Be like, oh, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's authentic. And you
Wow.
could hear it. And I felt my heart swelled. Right. And it's never done that before because I had all these barriers. I had all these walls put up that I didn't want to become hurt.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't want to become betrayed. And that happens. If you've ever been lied to, if you've ever been cheated on, if you've ever been stolen from, you never want that to happen again. So we put up these barriers. We put up these roadblocks. And we just say, nope, you got to break down all this shit before you get to the real me.
Yeah.
Right. And if you got somebody in your corner that's willing to help you break down those walls, willing to help break down those barriers, I promise you the end result is tremendous.
Yeah.
You can't put a price tag on it. You'll be happy, joyous, and free. And I know that sounds corny as shit.
Yeah.
Right. But it's truth, man. It's real. It's uplifting. You have a beat in your step. You know what I mean? Now, when people see me, they're like, man, Doc, why are you always so happy, chipper, blah, 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 blah. Why? Because I don't have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have to worry about if I lied to somebody. I don't have to worry about if I did something correct. I don't have to worry about, did I cut somebody off on the highway because I don't have control of my emotions.
Right.
Right. Today I'm on the highway. If somebody wants in, I slow down a little bit and let them in.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm going to already get to where I'm headed. Right.
Yeah.
Because your path is the path that you're supposed to be on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it really is evidence of a change in the heart. And it really boils down to it. I would not have known what love is, except, I have my parents, my relatives, this and that growing up. They do the best that they can with the tools that they grew up with.
Exactly.
No parent is perfect. Well, and we realize that later on. And then when you talk to them, when they're older in their 70s, 80s, they're like, man, we were just trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
And that's the same way with me. I'm trying to figure things out for my adult kids or whatever. I mean, they're already up and I'm like, man, I think I screwed them up. But the reality is, so we try our best. But what broke down for me was the fact that in my faith, God demonstrated his love by sending Jesus to die for my sins. He has a purpose and a plan for me. And he's has a path for me to grow in him. John 15, chapter 15, talks about abiding in him. Well, I want genuine, authentic, real stuff. I don't want Christianese. I don't want religion. I don't want this other stuff that's milked down, or whatever else, or it's got other junk in it. I don't want it. I want Jesus.
I want raw data.
Yes.
I don't want man's interpretation of what they think it is.
Yeah.
Because if I understand you correctly, or if I'm right or wrong, when I read the Bible, it's my interpretation of what it's saying to me.
Yeah.
It's God speaking to me, right?
Yeah.
And it's my job to be able to interpret it because it's black and white. There's no circumventing what's written. Like it says, don't kill. It doesn't mean that you can wound them, right? It doesn't mean, it says, do not hate. It says, do unto others as that you want to be done to you, right? It doesn't mean half step it and just kind of do what you want to do to somebody. Yeah. And that's where I think some of us get lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Right. Where we are left to our own devices and our own interpretation of how it fits our scope.
Right.
And that ain't it.
Yeah.
That ain't the case.
People may sit there and they may feel uncomfortable because the Bible's mentioned. The Bible can be summed up, and it's summed up by Jesus. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, right? And love your neighbor as yourself, and you fulfill everything. Well, you know what? God created me, so I want to do that. I'm not a theologian. I'm not some scholarly person, this and that, but God's so awesome that He made it simple for me,
Yeah.
a jackass.
A fucking Marine. Like, he made it
Right?
so simple this devil dog
And if
can
anybody sits there and
understand
says, "Oh, he's eating crayons right now," I see a crayon on the table, I'm gonna jump through and open up a can of whoop.
it.
So it's simple. We complicate things.
Yeah.
And you said it earlier. It's not. You just don't. It's a process. It's not like you going on a diet and you're sitting there going, "I'm doing everything," and you shock your system so much that you become. You're like, "I can't do this. It's not worth it," or whatever. Our battle is in our mind. And so we have to counter those thoughts in our mind. I can do this. And I'm taking one step in front of the other, just like eating an elephant.
Yep.
Just take one step at a time, and you're not overloading yourself. You're not pressuring yourself, this and that. But we have to be true and genuine to ourselves. People are going to say whatever they're going to say. They're going to like you or dislike you. Just be genuine to yourself. Be a good steward of yourself and your life, and it'll reflect in your business. It'll reflect in your family, your relationships, your marriage.
Yeah, your whole life. When you're true to you, life becomes easier. And this is probably the quickest hour of my Friday. It's probably this is our second rodeo. This, go around. Me and Coop are going to be doing this every Friday, just hitting people with some knowledge and just out there giving out some good advice, some suggestions. Understand that what we talk about, we're not telling you to do it. We're just throwing out some suggestions, what worked for us.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Right. And so as we get close to the top of the hour, 7:30, we want to wish everybody a fantastic Friday. We want to wish you guys the best, but we also want to challenge you, right? We want you to do a dive into some self-reflection. Take a moment this weekend and write down some things that you feel like you can do better at.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect. Well said.
How many, if you're consistently, when you get home and the first thing you do is get on Facebook and you're reading all these negative comments. If you read a bunch of negative comments, why don't you throw a couple positive comments in there? Maybe try to shift somebody else's mindset for them.
Yeah.
Right. Because we have all these negative Nancys out there, right? That always want to pull them down. And what do they say? Misery loves company.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what it is. Because the honest truth is once you begin to live a path of righteousness and you begin to live a path of honesty and clarity, people will gravitate towards you.
Yeah.
Right? In the same way, if you live a path of destruction, those destructive people will gravitate towards you and pull you down with them. Yeah. And it's hard to break away from them cats because they got a firm grip because they entice you, right? Come on out, man. It's fun. Come on, man. It's just one more, right? Oh, your wife, she won't care. Yeah. She won't mind. She's probably asleep anyways. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we get broken with all these lures of the devil. Right.
Yeah.
And because it's easier, quite frankly, it's easier to sin than it is not to. Right.
Yeah.
And it's set up that way. We are set up for failure from day one.
Dude, our heart was broken, and we have a propensity towards those things that are contrary to goodness.
Yeah.
It's a heart issue.
Yeah. But once you get it, and you've created the habit of living life the way you should live life, it becomes easier. And every day that you do it, it becomes easier. I've been sober for 5 years, but I promise you the first 2 years, shit, son. I mean, it was a struggle. The struggle was real. Yeah. You'd have friends calling you out. Hey, you want to come to the pub? You have people coming over. Hey, man, bringing you beer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just always in your face. But I said, nah, man, I'm good. I had to break ties with people that I thought were my best friend. I had to break ties with people that I thought had my best interest in mind when they didn't. In all actuality, they didn't. They had their best interest in mind. Right. They just knew that I was clever. They just knew that if I called Mike, he could get it done. Yeah. Right. And I had this people had this perception of me, right? That if you call Mike, he knows a guy. And I promise you guys, I'm still that same guy. But now the people that I know are the right people that I want to introduce to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now I know a guy, Coop, who's bringing me back and helping me continue to stay on the same path, right?
We
So
need it.
you got to have it. You got to have those people in your life to be able to keep you on track, to call you out on your bullshit, right? And so today, that's what we're doing. We're calling you out on your bullshit. If you're sitting there and you're listening to this and you're like, man, that guy hit me in the jaw with some real bombs today. He told me some things I didn't really want to hear, but I needed to hear.
Yeah.
Let me know, man. Let Coop know. We're happy to talk to you about it. We're happy to listen. And oftentimes, it's all we really need.
Yeah.
It's somebody just to listen.
Yeah.
You know? So it's Friday. It's the weekend. We got sunshine coming. We look forward to another great weekend. We just ask that you take the small steps to get your moral compass back on track.
Yeah.
We ask that you take the small steps to believe in yourself. We ask that to believe in yourself, that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you don't repetitively make those mistakes, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to fall down.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because you got breath in your lungs, you got blood coursing through your veins, you're still alive.
Yeah.
We get back up.
And we don't have rounds coming at us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, for everybody out there that thinks America is just like going to shit in a handbasket, it is. It is. I ain't gonna lie. It is. We're in some trying times right now. But I promise you, if you go across the pond,
Yeah.
or if you take a quick flip trip across the border south of us and you get into some of those smaller towns, you'll realize your life really ain't that bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll realize that one week that you didn't have water, these people don't have water for a lifetime.
Yeah.
When you're in Venezuela and the government is rationing how much water you can have, how much food you can have, how much power you can have, when you realize that you're in the greatest country in the world, regardless of all the hardships you think you have right now, I encourage you, go to Afghanistan, go to Iraq, go to fucking Venezuela, go to any other third world country out there and say, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad after all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And hold on, a little side note for my brothers and sisters in blue wearing the badge and badge of honor. You think law enforcement in the United States is corrupt and bad and they're just brutal and they're this and that? Go to across the pond. Go to some other country and see how it is. You have no concept of the professionalism stuff. Yeah, there's going to be a bad apple that pops up. But in all reality, the law enforcement in the United States of America is outstanding. The same with our military. You know what? They go to war, and if you're going to be fighting with us, we're going to bring the pain. No doubt about it. If you're going to fight with law enforcement and you're going to put your dukes up, hey, pain's coming. Just know it, because you're fighting against what is good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I can attest to that. We were in Tijuana, Mexico.
Oh, shoot. Don't bring up Mexico. Don't bring up Tijuana. I got a bad experience.
We all got a bad experience. If you didn't have a bad experience in Tijuana, you weren't doing something right. Okay, because the bottom line is your ass wasn't supposed to be there in the first place.
Exactly.
And pretty much they were like, hey, you're either going to jail or you're giving me $500.
Yeah.
So if you think that the world we live in today and in your backyard is corrupt and bullshit and blah, blah, blah. I saw a post today about, hey, mayor, we need to clean our town up. Come and pick up trash. I'm like, what? Like, really? That's not a damn mayor's job. Like, do it yourself. Hold yourself accountable to the person that you want to be. Take the initiative and start a damn community cleanup party.
Yeah.
Right? Take a moment, and if you have an idea or if you're not happy with something, become willing to change it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Take
it's easy
the
to put
steps.
stuff on other people.
It absolutely is. But we're at the top of the hour. It's Friday. We all have things to do. Thanks for tuning in. If you heard something in this this short video this morning and you like it, comment, tell us what you liked. And we're going to see you guys next Friday. We're going to come every Friday, hit you guys with some bombs, hitting you guys with some truth. We got guns for you.
Boom.
And anyways, y'all be good. If you can't be good at it.
All right.